NA healthcare, hospital bills, dude. You have no idea. Hold on, let me go camera for a sec. It's gonna be a short stream. I'm just explaining what's going on, so you know, like why I haven't been live and stuff. Okay, I'm live. I'm here. I'm on camera. Dude, oh my god. Why didn't you die? You could have had a really nice tribute at the Streamer Awards. That would have been pretty cool. They discharge me and they go, okay, we're gonna send you your prescriptions. I go to my pharmacy and they didn't send anything. And then the pharmacy closed. But okay, I'm just gonna start the story from the beginning. Well, Monday night I threw up and I thought I just ate I thought it was food poisoning. So Tuesday, I'm in a shit ton of pain. And so I try to get myself to an urgent care. I walk to one. They go, oh, we only do workplace related injuries here. And I'm like, you can't have a doctor see me. They're like, no, like you have to get hurt on the job.
You don't care, play SM.
I'm like, why does it say urgent care? And I'm like, well, I'm very visibly in pain.
Congrats on not
and he's
dying.
like, I'm sorry, I can't help. So then I walk back home, and at this point, I'm already throwing up a shit ton. I don't have any food in my body. I'm just throwing up like stomach bile like every like 10 minutes. I throw up, and then while I have like 10 minutes of like not throwing up, because that's what happens, I rush to a different urgent care, and I just park on the side of the road. I park on the side of the road, and I got a ticket for it later on, I found out. And I just go in the building and I'm like, hey, I'm like dying, I need help. And they're like, okay, you're like 7th in line, which is fair, I get it, it's an urgent care. But I'm like visibly in pain in the waiting room, and people are just like there because like, I don't know, like a toenail hurts or something. So they're like looking at me like laying down, like writhing in pain. And now I'm not someone who ever wants to like show that to people. Like I don't want to be a nuisance in public. But, like I'm in so much pain that like I'm like writhing in pain on like the couch there, and I just go to the bathroom and just keep throwing up stomach bile just continually. And eventually one of the people's like, hey, you can like go in this room. So they just give me a separate room to like be in pain in. So then the urgent care lady comes in and they give me pain medication. They give me like 2 shots in my ass, like my butt cheek, to like make the pain go away. And after like 10 minutes, I didn't think it worked because I'm still in pain. So then they don't know what the fuck to do, literally. So they call the ambulance. They call the ambulance, and I didn't know this because I'm in so much pain, I can like barely pay attention. And then by the time the ambulance gets there, the pain medication had kicked in, and suddenly like I'm like, oh shit, like okay, I'm feeling like pretty okay now. Like I don't really feel pain. And now the ambulance has gotten here, and then the lady that like called the ambulance is like, can you like play it up more? Can you like play it up more now? Because now the ambulance is here. And I'm like, oh god damn it. So I'm like, I like tell the ambulance to deal with this. I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. So I explained to the paramedics, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And they're like, yeah, it sounds like your appendix.
I've hated every month.
Because I pointed to where it hurt and shit. And I'm like, okay. So they all in agreement, I need to go to the emergency room. And they're like, yeah, but like if we take you, it's gonna cost you a lot of money. And I'm like, okay, I guess I can drive myself. And so that's when I walked back outside and found that in like the 40 minutes I'd been at that urgent care, I already got a ticket. So I get in my car and I drive to the hospital. I get there and I get to the emergency room. And the line to the emergency room, I'm kidding you not, goes outside. So I'm outside in the cold in like shorts and a t-shirt, just waiting. And I wait like 20 minutes, and then I'm finally inside, and they're like, yeah, this is gonna be a 10-hour wait, by the way. And keep in mind, I'm at the emergency room at like maybe 9 at night. Like, it's gonna be a 10-hour wait in the emergency room. I'm like, 10 hours? They're like, yeah. Because apparently, and this was like some shit out like a movie. They're like, yeah, actually our power's going out tonight, and we're gonna be running on backup generators, so we can't even like take scans, so you should like go somewhere else. And I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck? So at this point, I'm like, oh my god, like maybe I'm meant to die. So I call a couple of hospitals and find out there's one with like a 3-hour wait. So I'm like, okay. And the good thing is at this point, the painkiller is still working. So like I feel mostly fine. So I drove to another hospital. And during this, by the way, Cutie was incredibly helpful. Cutie was also calling hospitals for me, trying to help and see what could take me. But the one that I found ended up being fine. Well, I thought. So I go to this hospital, they take me in, and I thought I wasn't gonna stay the night, but then the guy's like, yeah, we're actually gonna check you into the hospital, because like this seems pretty bad. So then I check into the hospital, and I sleep there that night. I'm trying to think of anything else happened. They like scanned me and shit that night. I like went into like the machine or whatever. Tuesday, I get up, and so I'm not really sure what's going on, but they're only feeding me, I only get liquids. I don't get to have actual food. And the doctor, like, comes in probably in the afternoon, and he's like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And he tells me it's not my appendix, it's something else. I'm like, okay. Again, I'm not gonna get into too many details because like he kept going back and forth, and I don't want to make chat speculate or like diagnose me. Anyways, he told me it's something else, which I didn't expect. It didn't really make much sense with my symptoms. I was like, okay. They just like gave me medication. I was like on antibiotics and like fucking pain medication and like stomach medication and shit. So at that point, I'm kind of like nervous and scared because I don't really know what's going on and it sucks. And I'm in the hospital and I'm just kind of suffering. I was just watching like Tyler 1 on my phone. And that's pretty much all I did in the hospital. While I was there that next day, Caroline, I call her my California mom. She sent me flowers, which was nice. So shout out to Caroline. I got flowers and then immediately the nurse like knocked them over and like spilt the water all over my things. But thankfully I rescued my AirPods, so I was fine. But I did get flowers, which was cool for like 30 seconds. Oh, also, this is crazy. But when I get into my hospital room, I'm sharing a room with this guy and I walk in and I'm like, and now this is gonna sound bad, but the story pays off. I go like, is that guy looks a lot like George Lopez. And immediately I'm like, Connor, come on. That's fucked up to think. That's not okay. Like that's not, come on, man. But I was like, damn, like that's like pretty damn close. This is the guy that's next to me in the hospital. Just jump forward 2 days. Today, this morning, a guy one of his friends comes in.
I'm so happy
one of his friends comes into the room or whatever. Oh, no, actually, it was his friend. It was like his doctor that came in. And the doctor, who also speaks Spanish, his first thing he says when he comes in the room was, does anybody ever tell you look like George Lopez? And immediately, I'm in bed. I'm just like, oh my God, thank God that like that thought was not fucked up of me. Thank God that was not fucked up. Because like someone else, like a Hispanic person saying that made me feel a whole lot better about it. I was like, oh, thank God. Oh, I felt terrible because I didn't refill Bumper's like bowl or anything before I left, like his automatic feeder. And so I was like, oh my God, like, what am I gonna do? And I have to say, Cutie and Lud are just like the best people on the planet. Like, they're just like, they're genuinely like family to me. Not only did they feed Bumper, but they came and visited me in the hospital and checked on me and were always checking in and making sure I'm okay. And that meant a lot because I was kind of scared and stuff. I didn't really know what was going on. Yeah, no, they're really great. They really are great. So they came and checked on me and got my key and fed Bumper and stuff. Nothing really happened yesterday. So this is when I start getting annoyed. This is when I start getting annoyed because yesterday happens. And that first doctor that is like my physician who's in charge of me just doesn't come in that day. Just doesn't come see me. So I asked my nurse, I'm like, why didn't he come? And she's like, oh, he was supposed to. And they're like, yeah, we're just gonna keep you on liquids. And I'm trying to get home at this point. Like I want to leave. I don't want to be here. So I had to argue with them to convince them to put me on actual food. Because I deduced that like they wouldn't want me to leave until like they give me real food and to see how I respond to it. So I'm like, well, just put me on the real food tonight so then we can monitor that, so hopefully I can go home tomorrow. And then like that made a lot of sense to the lady and she's like, okay, that makes sense. So then she changed it and then gave me real food that night, thankfully. And so then this morning comes and my doctor also didn't come see me today. He also didn't see me today on the day that I'm supposed to be released. And so I didn't get like a full discharge report. I didn't get a fucking... I was apparently prescribed medication, but now I found out when I went to my fucking pharmacy an hour ago that they just didn't get the order. And so I don't really know what the deal is. You should sue? I don't know how. Austin's show will help. Austin was checking in. Dude, I had so many friends checking in on me. I appreciate that. A lot of people care. Literally, I called the hospital like 20 minutes ago. I didn't get my prescription and now the pharmacy's closed. And the lady was like, oh, well, you have to talk to your like physician about that. And I literally on the phone go, oh, the physician who didn't show up to my fucking room the past 2 days? And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks. No, I was pretty mad on the phone. I was pretty mad. I feel a bit justified in it. But yeah, so vote for me for best variety streamer. There's a chance it might be a posthumous award. Oh, this is funny too. When Cutie and Lud came, they weren't gonna let them come see me. They weren't gonna let them come in because the hospital was being the fucking shitty hospital. I lied to them and I was like, oh, it's my brother and sister. I need to go see them. And that convinced the lady, I guess. So suddenly she was like, okay. But they weren't allowed, they wouldn't let them come into my room. So I had to go down there. So I had to get up and go down to see them. And I was like, oh, so as I'm walking down there, I'm like, oh, this was a great idea. And I'm in the elevator and I'm like, surely they didn't like walk in like holding hands and like they wouldn't like be kissing in like the waiting room. They weren't. But like the ladies still like seemed a bit confused when I insinuated they were like my siblings. So I don't know. I don't know this. I really have no idea, but she definitely seemed a bit confused. But it worked out because they got my key. Almost lost you and Chugga Conroy in the same week. Why didn't Ludwig simply buy you a better doctor? That's a good question. What sickness do you have? Swag. Dude, driving to the urgent care was fucking... Oh my god. I think I ran a red, to be honest. But like, you really can't blame... Like, I was like fucking writhing in pain. Could barely like press the gas on the car. Don't you have a Tesla? Yeah, people... You know what? That's one of those... I hate stupid people. Because stupid people, whenever I'm like, oh, I need to drive my car, and they find out it's a Tesla, just like, oh, it's a Tesla. You don't have to drive it. That's not how that fucking works. That's not how the fucking car works. One, I don't have the full self-driving and buy that attachment. Two, even if I did, I'd still have to like monitor the car. It just fucking it drives itself. Do you think this was the curses and hexes catching up with you? Honestly, yeah. Like I made a joke about like witchcraft or something on my alt last week. Like I joked about like the dark arts, and it got like 8 private quote retweets immediately. And like my paranoia was like, those fucking witches are on their private, like talking shit again. Connor, I curse you, dude. You guys gotta watch The Curse. That show is fucking crazy. That ending was wild. Anyways, thanks for listening to my ramble today. I just want to tell this story while it was fresh on my mind. I'm gonna take ibuprofen.